I just raced LMP3s in Germany against Schumacher, the actual like David and Ralph Schumacher. People stopped me on the city like, oh, you're the sim racer who went to real life.
When you're a content creator, you're legitimately one video away from changing the entire course of your life.
If you're scared and you being scared makes you lose your braking zone, you're gonna crash because you were scared.
So I've been burnt out twice. Once physically, and then later I got mentally burnt out from my first business. I was on 4 world tours teaching seminars.
Got 200K. I bought the car to prove to people that I was legit. It was not just a kid playing sim racing, especially because my courses are slightly expensive. I needed to show them, hey, like what I did in sim racing, it's legit. And when I smoke weed, like I literally take 2 puffs. That's enough for me to be just ever so slightly high.
Yeah, good to have you here, dude. It's been pretty epic following you for so long. And I remember the first video I saw of you was actually one of the more recent videos even, where you explained your entire journey from just sim racer, professional, semi-professional pianist to sim racer to then winning races against like seasoned veterans in that. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then I checked out your Instagram, and you provide some really valuable stuff. And funny enough, we started karting within my team years ago, and we became competitive, and that's how I kind of started getting into Formula One racing. And now I follow guys like you crushing it. So,
and you drove at Nürburgring, right?
yes, I did, just 2 weeks ago or something like that.
That's nice. That's amazing. Yeah.
Scary, man, scary. Well, how was that? Because I see you talk a lot about fear, and that's one thing that you can't really learn from sim racing. This whole idea of like the repercussions are so much worse than when you're sim racing. If you get the car off track, you can get hurt, you can get other people hurt. How did you start dealing with that? And how was the experience when you started it?
The fear in motorsports is a little bit different from the fear of other sports. For example, if you're going to jump on a parachute, you have to jump and you see it. So the fear is right there with you as you do it. In motorsports, you're kind of afraid of crashing, but it's not there all the time, and it only happens if something freak happens, like you dip the wheel on the gravel or someone makes a mistake. So it's easier to deal with the fear in motorsports if you're in control of the car, because you always assume that it's never going to happen with you. So it's a sneaky fear. It's not like the scary fear from other sports. It's like right on your face all the time. I am scared. I am definitely scared, and in a way, um, it's it's a complicated relationship with this fear, because at the same time comes the feeling of being alive. Like for me, I'm 30 years old right now, and I started getting my existential crisis phase where like I'm thinking, what am I gonna do like with my life? I might die any moment, or what if I had a heart attack right now? Like I always have this existential crisis consistently. I read a lot about like philosophy and stuff. I'm not religious, so in a way, I this year realized that this solution to this existential crisis is motorsports, because
Nice.
motorsports ignites everything. You face a different kind of fear. At the same time, you're telling a story. You're living this dream that everyone wants to. You're full of adrenaline that forces you to eat well, sleep well, work out. Like if you look at me 2 years ago, I was like half my size. I'm still thin. I'm still like a small man, but like before I was like a nerd, like playing video games with my arms like this, and now I'm feeling that I'm becoming someone different, and that's thanks to motorsports, because it's forcing me to unleash this better version of myself. So you see, like all the benefits that come with motorsports outweigh the fear for me in my situation, in my context. I am scared though. Like I will not accept driving one of those old Formula Ones with no halos and nothing, and no
Oh
crash
yeah.
chassis. Like I see Jimmy Broadman doing it. I'm like, whoa, man. Like those classic racing, I'm so scared of that, because like the tire blows up and you can flip and die. Like it's so dangerous. So right now I feel so safe with my Halo and my Radical, and like moving up to an MP3 like a few weeks ago. The car is super safe. Like
Mm.
so I try to direct myself towards safer forms of motorsports still.
Yeah.
But I guess I hope that answers your question. Like, how do you deal with the fear? Well, it comes with the whole package of actually making me feel alive.
I mean, it's actually really cool what you said. This like midlife crisis, scared of, because it's not really that we're scared of dying. We're scared of never having
Not
lived
living.
life to the exactly, not having lived life to the fullest. And it's really funny. I had a really deep conversation about that with my friend that I was at the Nürburgring at. And he has a racing license, so we were driving, and he said exactly the same. He's like, the reason why people are scared of dying is because they know on a conscious, subconscious, or unconscious level that they're not really living. And he said, you know, look, I'm doing what I want with my life. I have my friend, he has his own business. He's traveling, he's racing, kind of like you, kind of like me in terms of the business side as well. And he's like, I'm not afraid of dying because I'm living it every single fucking day. And like you said, like that's kind of like conquering the fear. Like Alexander the Great used to say, the best defense is attack. So you're kind of attacking life, and you're throwing yourself into quote unquote more dangerous situations because you want to live and not die. And that's a really interesting way of hearing it. I've had my own quote unquote midlife crisis at around 30 as well. I'm 34 now. For me, it came a little later, like at 31, 32 ish. And I was also like, fuck, like I'm 30 now. I'm an old person. I'm an adult. What have I done in my life? And I made my first million at age 26. So I'm arguably further than the average person, but at the same time, like even at that level, you're constantly afraid of not having pushed yourself hard enough, of not having taken all the opportunities. And you know, there's always, like they said, there's always an Asian kid somewhere in the world doing better than you, and that really messes with your mind in this regard. So yeah, it's really interesting to hear your take on that. But let's backpedal a little bit for folks who don't know you, because your story is incredible. How did you go from like soon to be pianist to sim racing to real life racing? Walk us through a little bit.
Well, before even the piano career side, I think my very essence is gaming.
Mm.
So I started gaming when I was 11, 10, 9. I don't know. I don't remember. Like I've always like that's how I learned my English. That's how I learned my social skills. That's how I learned business, because I was playing MMORPGs and leading alliances of 200 people, and I was like a kid, and people respected me because I liked being the leader of the clan, and I liked leading and planning the strategy for the wars and stuff. Like I was always like very fantasy driven. Like I'm living this whole journey here while sitting on my desk. I'm actually we're collectively living a movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I learned most of my skills. And then I moved up to Guitar Hero. So I was always very fond of like technique and music and everything. Then I moved to piano, so I was always like in love by actively doing something. And that's the thing. One of the biggest differences, as a kid, I never really wanted to just watch TV and be a passive person. I wanted to be like actively doing something, learning something, trying something, getting better at something. And because I've developed this like hyperactivity, I always I get bored very easily, and I want to do something that challenges me. And that's the essence. Then I went to piano, and I always had gaming as my hobby. And then I moved on to Gran Turismo, so racing games. And then I moved on to Acero Corsa, racing simulators. And then I moved on to iRacing, and always following my piano career, I had that side quest. It was never a goal to make that a job. It was just gaming. It was just fun. And then at some point when I moved to Canada to do my master's degree, I had zero money, and my fiance's mom back then, she was like, why don't you try to teach people? You're pretty good in this sim racing thing, because back then I already had a few trophies from leagues, from Brazilian leagues.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's try that. So I started like charging $20 per session and telling the story, hey, like I'm charging $20. I'm pretty good in the forum, and I need this money to pay for my university. And then people started
Wow.
trying it out because $20 was like nothing, right?
Yeah.
But then it started like a snowball effect where everyone started responding to that forum how good the coaching session was. So in a matter of like 2 weeks, I went from 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 like drivers getting coaching, and then I had to start like this is the first time I had to download a calendar app and actually use it. No, it was not university. It was actually teaching that made me become more organized. And then from there, it just started like snowballing, snowballing, snowballing. And then my session price went from 20 to 30 to 45 to 50 to 75 to 149, and now it's 200.
Sick.
And always because I had to control the demand, I couldn't like at some point I was doing 35 sessions a week, and
Damn.
that's how and I think that's an important part of my whole life is that most of the very good things that I do that I'm good at were not planned.
Mm.
It just happened that I was very good at coaching, and then I became like I started loving coaching because I was good at it instead of the opposite. Instead of becoming good because I loved it.
Mm.
Um, and this tipping point was when I noticed that I should have that I should decide to go from music to coaching, and then from there I started building my career and as a coach, and I started learning marketing books on how to make more money, how to organize my money, how to do scalable stuff. So I made my online course first, and it blew up, and then I started studying out the algorithm. How can I get more views? How can I teach more clearly? How can I, where should I put the captions so that people don't get lost, and so on. And then I started building up all those skills around the fact that I was very good at coaching.
Mm.
This is, I think, the reason I am, well, I'm not going to brag, but I am probably one of the best sim racing coaches of YouTube right now because I learned a lot of skills around the fact that I was good at coaching instead of trying to be good at coaching at first. Why am I insisting on this? Because the career decision was not based on whether I wanted to make money or be successful. It was based on what I was already naturally good. And this is because of a book that I read a few years ago from um, Carl Newport, and the name of the book is So Good That They Can't Ignore You. And it's
Mm.
about career decisions. It's about how do you choose what you're going to do with your life. And the main point of the book is following your passion is a terrible idea because your passion is basically an idea of what the job is going to be, but you don't know exactly what the job is going to be. So if you want to be an astronaut, you only visualize that little dude like flying on space, but you don't know everything around involved it, and you don't know how your life is going to be over the years and years and years every day so that you can finally see yourself doing that. And then most people that follow their passions end up burning out as soon as they achieve that job because they didn't realize that it was not really what they thought. It was actually a lot more around it. So same thing with piano. Like piano is, you can imagine that it's you playing on stage and people throwing flowers at you, but like you're spending 8 hours a day repeating the same passage and trying to improve. Like and like if you don't love the process, then you just imagining the final part of you on stage is not going to be enough, and you're not going to succeed at not only succeed as a pianist, but actually not only also not like
Yeah.
what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So this book changed my life because as soon as I read it, I realized, oh wait, so I should not follow my passion, I should follow what I'm good at. And that's when I quit piano and moved to sim racing, and then I went all in online courses, YouTube channel, started reinvesting all the money into actual real racing, and then I started building the whole thing. And in a matter of 2 years, that's what I achieved after that decision.
So your real life racing career, where you bought your first racing car, and obviously also you got to buy yourself into all these races that you're racing in, is that all financed simply from your coaching business and of course sponsors?
100%, 100%. Because my parents like they didn't have money. That's why I started coaching because I needed to make money to pay for my university. And in a
Mm.
matter of a year, I was sending money back to my family. I was like, no, you don't have to send
Damn.
anything. I can help you guys now. I can, and now I support my family because of coaching. And then I bought a race car with coaching money. And then the whole idea was to make a system where I sponsor myself.
Yeah.
So I bought a car and I painted it black and gold with my logo and everything so that people could see that car and say, wow, that dude is successful. He must be good at it. I'm going to buy his course. So it
Yeah.
is essentially my racing career is a marketing strategy. It's a marketing investment for my own courses. And it works very well because I actually go there into the jungle. I become better as a driver. I tell the story, and the whole thing feeds itself.
Mm. That's so genius. That was also one of the things that I noticed. I'm like, it's such a cool idea because you're racing because you want to win, but at the same time, you win anyways because people see your stuff, and then your channel grows, and from your channel grows, you make more money, and so on and so forth, and you're still winning the races then on top of that too, which is absolutely sick. And it's really cool to see your story in the coaching realm first, because right, that's what we're doing with our clients. We help beginners and advanced coaches either get started, make the first money, or scale their businesses as coaches. And your example is just a prime example of like how it should be. Like, you didn't start with like having a crazy brand or anything. You literally just started building a little bit of word of mouth within a specific online presence. In your case, it was forums. And then you coach the first guy, and then that guy talks about it, and then the second guy. And slowly but steadily, you kind of get a, we always call it like a small but highly lucrative micro brand. That's how you started. That's how you made money. And then from there, you said, okay, now let's build the brand. But as you were building the brand, you were already making money. And then it becomes the perpetuating wheel, literally in your case. And that's how it works. So sick to hear that. Now, one question I had. So how long do you think does it take from someone that just picks up sim racing to actually being able to drive in actual real life races and actually have a chance and not just, come in last?
This the answer is actually there is a secret behind every person in terms of what they can do. How talented are you? The answer is it depends on your background. Sometimes your background, the thing you were doing as a kid, was already making you develop some skills that you're not even aware of.
Mm.
So, for example, if you play a lot as a kid and you're fascinated by physics, you start developing those early skills that you have no idea are going to actually help you become a better racing driver in the future or a better pianist in the future. If you're, sometimes you start sim racing, but you already have so many other sports background that you already have like a year of precision of idea of technique development of like your brain's already set up for that. And so in a matter of 6 months, you can actually become way better than many drivers who already have 5 years of experience but didn't have any background before that.
Mm.
So that is why it's very difficult to answer this question because it depends on your whole life and
Yeah.
what you've done as you grew up. So for me, for example, I always uh, did racing games and
Mm.
other kinds of games that required like a lot of like competitiveness, esports games, League of Legends, shooting games, and the MMORPGs. So like I've developed all these skills without being aware that they were gonna help me, and
Mm.
also even music. I mean, for sure, music and competitive racing are very similar in many aspects.
Mm.
So that's the answer. It's really not satisfying answer. Like it really
Yeah.
depends so heavily on your background that you can't put um a definitive a definitive timeline to it. I have a student who he's a wealthy student and he wants to race Ferraris.
Nice.
And he was like, "Listen, I wanna do something. I wanna race Ferrari GT3s in real life, but I'm really bad at it, and I want to start from scratch with you, and I want you to train me for 2 years." And I was like, "Wow, okay, let's start." First
Mm.
session, he knew nothing. He had no background. He had no skills. He had no gaming skills, and he was really just like all over the place. And
Wow.
I was like, "Oh my god, like he's really not good, not good at all." And then he gets good over the months, and he always shows up every Wednesday, 4 p.m. He shows up. And now it's been, I think, 10 months, 11 months, and he already surpassed many of my other students because he's so consistent. It's like he has built a habit to the point where I think he even forgot what he was doing. He's just like doing he made it automatic. And now
Sick.
I'm always surprised. Every session I'm like, you are fast. Like you're starting to understand things, and you're starting to develop such a precision that like I would not have believed myself like a year ago that you could achieve that. So
Damn.
depending on the consistency, on the discipline, and of course this guy, he has a business, so he understood that things take time, and he
Yeah.
already had the background of, he didn't have the technical background, but he had the mental background of,
Yeah.
if he put his mind to it and actually do it every week, he's gonna achieve it, and he is achieving it in a surprising way. So
Dude. I have so many questions about this. So wait, so how exactly do you work with this guy if it's one on one? So I'm assuming it's some sort of special package that you do with him specifically,
no,
or
it's
is
just like a 1-to-1 sessions. He pays me for an hour, and we keep.
oh sick. Okay, and does he? I guess he's practicing outside of these weekly sessions as well. How much does he practice there, if you
Not a
know?
lot. He's practicing. I think he's very busy with his businesses and everything. I think he's practicing like 6 to 7 hours a week, 1 hour
Oh,
a
that's
day.
actually chill. That's like yeah, it's an hour a day. That is sick. And how do these sessions look like? Do you race live with him? Like you look over his shoulder digitally, or you break down the replays of how does that look like?
It depends a lot. Mostly we analyze. So there's two things you can work on with racing. You can work on your car handling dynamics, how to drive faster, and how to understand the physics of it, and how
Mm-hmm.
to build muscle memory and everything. And there's the racecraft, how to position your car when you're fighting for position.
Okay, sick.
So we alternate sometimes. Sometimes we go all in on, hey, I want you to find a second per lap. Let's go corner by corner. We're gonna analyze like everything that you're doing, the gear, the steering, the settings, your posture, your tension, like everything, your vision. And then in other weeks, he just sends me like, hey, I've done 5 races. Here's all 5 replays. Let's analyze one by one what I could have done differently in this crash, or in this defense, or in this attack. And then we just go through it like consistently.
Damn. What is like the setup that you recommend for such a thing where it actually makes sense in terms of sim racing rigs? How expensive does one have to go in order for it to translate well enough into real life racing down the line?
Um, that depends a lot. What I started with was a Logitech G29. I started with a $150 used wheel, and I
Mm.
used that for 3 years, and I was already top 0.5% with that. Because the especially in sim racing, the up until you get very good equipment doesn't matter.
Mm.
As long as you have a pedal pedal set and a steering wheel, you can achieve a lot, because it's about understanding. It's about inputs. It's about like braking on the right spot. It's about transitioning right and keeping the tires loaded. Of
Yeah.
course, you're gonna be slightly less precise, but keyword slightly. You're gonna be slightly less precise if you have low end equipment. You're gonna spend $10,000 in a professional simulator. You're gonna improve technically 2 tenths, 3 tenths per lap.
Mm.
People don't understand that. They think that they have to pay to win. Well, I didn't.
Mm. Mm.
It was all about understanding how to communicate with the car, given that given those limited scenarios of like how much force feedback my wheel was able to produce and everything. But still, I was able to. So when I started coaching, I still had a G39.
Mm.
I had 500 students. I still had a G29. The reason I bought better equipment was because of coaching, because of money from making people who had better equipment better. And in that time, I still had a G29.
Sick, man.
That's the belief that I try to break as much as possible. Actually, on my email sequence right now, the second email you get is that. It's a picture of my rig saying like, listen, you don't need to spend money on that. Spend money on coaching. Spend money on like I did that. I always seeked
Sawdust?
thoughts. I always went for I always looked for coaches, friends, teammates who were faster. Sometimes actual paid coaches. So I had coaching sessions that were paid probably 5, 6, 7. I probably already spent over $1,000 in coaching when I was getting better because I wanted to know like, is there any secret? Is there anything that I'm not paying attention to? And there always was something, some little thing here and there, and I started collecting all those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, it's my business is based on that, on trying to shift the belief that your money should go into equipment, not into just into coaching. People still believe today that talent exists in a way that, oh, if I'm good, I'm good. If I'm not, I'm not. Like
Yeah.
there's no way you can change from one side to the other.
Yeah.
But there is like, and it's really in the mentality. Like the talent can be either your background that you had without knowing that you were developing your skills as with other sports and arts and stuff, or you can be like my student who didn't have any background but had the talent of being extremely disciplined, and over the year he developed that skill. So his kind of talent was different. It was a mental talent, not a physical talent.
I mean, now that you say it, man, it's like it's the same with guitar, right? Like if you suck at playing guitar, you can have a Jimi Hendrix guitar and you're still gonna suck at it. But if you're great at playing guitar, you can sound good on like a $50 Walmart guitar. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, it's actually, yeah, like you said, it's totally the same on with sim racing. And then also, the investment in yourself is always the biggest investment. I get this every time I do an Instagram Q&A. People ask me, Max, what's the best investment you've ever done? What should I invest in? I have $5,000. What crypto coin should I invest in? And I'm like, look, invest it in yourself. Like that, it's the least sexy option, but at the same time, it's gonna have the biggest long-term value for you. In your case, you've invested in the coaches, and now you built your own business. You're crushing it. There's no other way to making it valuable unless you invested in yourself. Sure, you can get lucky with some shit coin that 1,000x's overnight, but then you're just an idiot with more money. But if you invested in yourself, you become a better version of yourself. You become smarter, more stress resistant, more nuanced, more charismatic, more well known. And then from those skills, you can move on and make more money, whether that's in sports, esports, business, art, wherever it is. And as long as you are alive, you will stack up, you will compound on these things that you're spending money on, that you're investing in. And that's the real value. Like the stuff that I learned from my mentors when I started with business, whatever, 10 years ago, I still compound on top of that. And funny enough, too, a lot of times I get lessons that make sense to me on a surface level, whether it's from a book or a program or a mentor. And I'm like, I get it. And then like years later, I really get that lesson. I'm like, oh, that's what they meant with that. And then it's almost like you learn twice from the same lesson, once on a surface level and once on a deeper level. And then you really live that. And I mean, from coach to coach, then also you passing it on to your clients isn't only good for them, but it kind of helps you deepen your knowledge. So it's almost like this, like back and forth. It's this force that goes into both directions that gets you better and smarter. And I always said, then you're part of an upward spiral, a beautiful upward spiral of success where you give and you get, and then that person gives and gets, and so on and so forth. Now, one other thing that I wanted to ask, when it comes to these different kind of sims, what do you think about Gran Turismo? I feel like it's kind of like the beginner thingy because it's not that accurate of a sim, but at the same time, it's easier to get started. It's a little bit more flashy. Does Gran Turismo still work for someone to understand real life racing, or should they at some point like upgrade to more sophisticated sims?
It depends on your goals. I think yes. Overall, the most general thing that happens is that Gran Turismo is made to introduce people into sim racing, into getting that kind of into evolving from racing games into more simulators.
Mm.
So you go from racing games like Need for Speed Underground, where you're like you're racing around the cities and you can
Yeah.
drift and you can hit everything. Like those are games. And then you go to Gran Turismo, who's like that's like a simcade that it tries to replicate a little bit of that seriousness of actual motorsports. And then you can move up one more step to for example iRacing or the Assetto Corsa that are meant to be extremely precise
Yeah.
and replicate as much as possible of the physics that you have. So it's a stepping stone for sure. I mean, there's for some people it can even be the end game if you, for example, become the top player of Gran Turismo, and then that actually puts you into a real race car. But if you want to use a training tool that is going to make you directly better in racing, then you should go for the simulators because those are going to teach you with a lot more precision exactly what happens with the car. So it's not a matter of like I'm using Gran Turismo because if I win this championship, someone is going to put me in a car, but rather I'm going to use iRacing because if I get a car and go to a grassroots event, I'm going to be ready because that's going to prepare me to 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 drive to a level of precision that is going to be pretty much scary similar.
Mm.
It's going to be like wow, like whatever I do here, like it happens in the simulator.
So what do these other simulators do different compared to Gran Turismo?
They focus more on quality than quantity. I think Gran Turismo is has tons of tracks, tons of cars, tons of players, and it's supposed to be accessible, and
Mm.
you can play it on a controller as well as on a. It's optimized for accessibility,
Mm.
and iRacing and Assetto Corsa are optimized for precision, and they end up becoming less accessible. It's more difficult to drive at first if you don't know exactly like how to. Like a lot of people hate iRacing because like you lock up, you spin, and you're like, I can't drive this thing. Why? It's because
Ah.
that's exactly how it would be in real life.
Mm.
Um,
Damn.
and Gran Turismo was made to welcome you. Like, hey, like you can do it. Like just turn on all these assists and go for it.
So you recommend that actually at some point if you got used to Gran Turismo and you want to go to the bigger simulators that you actually first turn off all the assists just to get used to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really depends. I think, like I said, it's there's many ways to getting into serious sim racing, and Gran Turismo is definitely I can say it's the most successful. That's how I got into sim racing.
Yeah.
So it just introduced millions of people into the world.
How long did you play
Motorsports.
How long did you play Gran Turismo before you switched to another one?
I mean, 10 years.
Damn. All right.
But it was always as a game, like, and I played and I stopped, then I played and I stopped. It was just part of the many games that I played. I was never sim racing. I actually started sim racing seriously when I got a set of course and I bought a wheel. So the
Mm.
first time I bought a wheel, it was for a set of course. It was not for Gran Turismo.
Wow. Okay. Do you do you sim race, for example, to recover, to relax, where you're saying like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna do like some easy race, just to get my mind off things? Or what's your relationship between the thing that you're doing professionally versus what you do for fun and to quote unquote counterbalance that? What I've seen is there's two kinds of people. There's people who literally do only that one thing, like they race in real life and then to relax they do sim racing or whatever. And then there's people who do something completely opposite. Like for me, business is that's what I do all day. That's my bread and butter. And then sim racing, or in my case, Gran Turismo racing, that's the thing I do to take my mind off things. How is that with you?
It's gotten difficult because I spent so much of my life with sim racing and streaming so much and writing that I have not found the mental space and time to, for example, turn on my sim, start streaming, and put the title chill stream and just drive for fun or
Mm-hmm.
just race for fun. It's very rare.
Mm.
nowadays, which is something I'm working on. Like it's very difficult. Like when you make a business of that, it's very easy to burn out and to be so like so involved in it as an obligation almost that
Mm.
it makes it difficult. So right now, for example, I've spent most of my free time playing piano, which was my career back then
Yeah.
when the roles were inverted. Piano 8 hours a day, and then oh now I'm gonna play some sim racing to chill. Now it's the opposite. It's like not necessarily driving, but I spend so much time taking care of the business and writing videos and editing videos and being so involved with sim racing that when I have some free time, I'm not going to the sim to drive. I'm actually going to the piano to play something.
Mm.
So I think it's a matter of balance as well. I want to do a little bit of everything, and
Mm.
because I already spend so much time in sim racing, I end up not getting that. Although I want to, I'm trying to build a better relationship with sim racing. um Real racing is easy because you have to travel. You have to travel and you race 2 hours of the in the rest of the day. You're just chilling with people, you're talking to people, you're talking to your mechanics, you're meeting everyone. Like so you can't burn out from racing in real life. You can burn out from traveling for sure. That's
Mm.
very easily
Amen.
a source of burnouts, traveling a lot, but not necessarily the sport. And so yeah, I'm trying to in the next few weeks to free up some time and 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 actually sim race for fun.
Mm.
I do have a performance therapist, and I thought I actually have a call with her today, and we always talk about all those things. We try to get an overview of like what I've been doing with my life and how this hobby became the center of my life and the center of my identity. Really,
Mm.
people stop me on the city like, oh, you're the sim racer who went to real life. Like people stop me here, like close to my home, like they recognize me.
Sick.
So because I've become this persona, I need to always keep my mind sharp and like organized so that I don't have any kind of burnout. For example, I'm really aware. I'm actually reading a book right now called Burnout Immunity,
Mm.
and I'm actually not burnt out, but I'm always on that like edge.
Yeah.
So I'm always super aware of it just to make sure that I can continue doing this for the next 5, 10, 20 years.
It's an interesting point that you're on that edge, and I feel like everybody that is performing on a high level is on that edge. It's almost like you can't even perform at a high level unless you're operating at that edge. And I've stepped over that edge twice. I've been burnt out twice. Once physically, I was studying to become a professional musician as well, actually, for guitar. I was studying to get to the Conservatory of Vienna for guitar. And I just, woke up, play guitar, eat, sleep. That's all I did because I wanted to get into the conservatory. It's one of the most prestigious ones in Europe, the University of Vienna. And then I got tendonitis on my left arm. Couldn't move my hand, my wrist, unless unless under severe burning pain. And then I got it on the right hand as well. I literally had it on both hands. And I think, now retrospectively, that was like over 10 years ago. I think it was just a psychosomatic issue because my body knew this motherfucker is not going to stop practicing unless we physically inhibit him. And then later in 2016, 17-ish, I got mentally burnt out from my first business. I was touring the world. I was on 4 world tours teaching seminars. And like you said, traveling, man, everybody wants to go travel, but then you do it and you're like, fuck, this sucks. It's like you have no routine, you can't have a proper diet, or it's harder to do at least. And then I got mentally really, really burnt out. And it's exactly like you said, it's like if you make your identity your profession, it's great and all and do it, but you still need to understand that there's someone beyond your work ethic, beyond your profession, beyond your results that you're publicly having. And that someone is you in your quiet moments, in your alone moments, when you're just saying, hey, today I'm going to just sleep in, or today I just want to, watch a stupid Netflix show that has nothing to do with my profession and eat pancakes. And I think every high performer needs to kind of learn to nurture that person, because I think you get to a high performing level by nurturing only the go get everything and go conquer personality, the type of your personality, and then you have to also learn to feed that personality that doesn't do anything and just exists. And it's actually genius that you have a performance psychologist. I never had one, so I had to figure that out the hard way. um, yeah, man. Have you ever read the book Flow: The Psychology of Optimal Experience?
Not this one, but I did read The Art of the Impossible by Stephen Kotler. That is
Mm-hmm.
essentially about flow state. He was following many athletes for many years and just studying the neurology of flow state. That is very good. I actually have to read that again because yeah, some of these books you need to read it, and then 5 years again you do it again because you're really gonna understand stuff that
100%. 100%. Do you sometimes, when you're in a real life racing car and you're tapping into that flow state, it's hard to describe. Do you sometimes get that feeling of like you don't even, you're not even fully aware you're in a real life situation and you're just so in the zone that it feels exactly the same like sitting at home sim racing?
yes, and that's when the fear doesn't play any role anymore. If you look at my YouTube video where I was racing at the streets of Toronto, it's called Racing Radicals is no Street Racing in Radicals is Scary, something like that. That video you can watch it. You can watch it as many times as you want. You're gonna cringe of the moves that I'm doing because it's scary. You're gonna be like, yeah, how are you doing this? And as I was doing this, as I was doing the move that could put me in the wall at 200 kilometers per hour and scratching other cars in the process, I was watching that from an exterior
Wow.
place. I
Dang.
was looking at the machine inside my head operating in the flow state, and the upper Suellio, the consciousness was like, shit, that was scary, dude. But that consciousness, like that is seeing that and being scared, is not in control of the actual inputs anymore.
Damn.
So it's like when you get the adrenaline levels just right, you don't have any control. Like the fear doesn't have any control of you anymore.
Damn. How conscious of an effort was that? Was it just like, holy shit, I'm in the flow? Let's go. Do you have rituals on how to
It's a
get there?
post thing. It's not during it. During it, you just exist. You don't have time to think about anything else. You can't. If you overthink about that, you're fucked. Like you're just racing. You're racing. You're racing. You're racing. You're racing. You're racing. And it's 35 minutes. You're racing. You're racing. You're racing. You're looking at the spots. You're looking at the mirror. You're looking at what your next move is gonna be. You're so fucking busy. You cannot think about being scared. If you
Fuck.
do think about it, you're not a racing driver anymore. During the event, you can be scared before. You can panic. You can shake. I already did like my first rain race in a Rush SR. I was shaking so much that I could not properly accelerate like on the outlap before the race started. My right foot was shaking so much that the engine was responding to my inputs and I could not control my feet. I was like, bro, I'm too scared. I'm too scared. I'm too scared. And then like 30 seconds after, when the race starts, the adrenaline kicks in and I'm fine. Like I get into that flow state and I just drive and I just race.
Damn. How often do you tap into that flow state when you're racing?
All the time. As soon as the race starts, you get into flow state.
Wow. Is
It's a button. It's a on switch. On off
did
switch.
you have to somehow learn to get into that? Was it always automatic? As you know, assume someone's listening to this and they're like, "Fuck, I can't always get in that flow state." What is Suellio doing differently?
Principles. You have clear objectives and you have a principle. I want to go fast. I want to be ahead. And anything that you do that's outside of that is going to make you slower, you have to eject. You have to instantly reject that thought. It's not going to help you. What are you going to do that's going to help you at that moment? And I have become a good person to, not a good person. I have become I have a strong mentality for acting on things that actually create results. And that came from gaming. That came from even relationships or my own life. I consider myself a very strong emotional person right now because I can control my emotions, my emotions. Anything that happens that's kind of like dangerous, I'm gonna act with no panic. And I think part of that is because of competitive gaming that then became competitive racing, where like if you're scared and you being scared makes you lose your braking zone, you're gonna crash because you were scared. So is being scared helping you? No. So then ignore it. And then same thing for, I'm gonna give a very, very silly example. My fiance cut her finger and it was bleeding like big time, was like dripping blood, and she could not handle it. She passed out.
Oh damn.
And I had to like lift her, and I was, bro, it's just a finger. Like, and also if you pass out, it's not gonna help you. Like, you have,
Yeah.
let's do something to solve the problem. So like my mentality was always like to reject the emotional side of it and just like fix the problem. And that's what I do for everything. So in terms, coming back to the principles of racing, you being scared is not going to help with anything. And my performance therapist also helped me because I was scared of racing. And she said, oh, sorry, scared of racing the rain. And she was like, you're only scared of racing the rain because you don't have any experience. And fear comes mostly from unpredictability, from you not being sure what's going to happen in the next second. So as soon as I understood how I could predictably drive in the rain, the fear vanished. So the fear comes from unpredictability. If you can learn how to predict how things are going to happen, your fear is also gone. So by learning, if you're too anxious in racing, there's two things. First, there's the energy itself from the adrenaline. That's not anxiety, that's being nervous. But it can also be a good way. It can be a good nervous. If you can see that your heart's racing, but you're like repurposing that as a good thing. It's like, hey, this is my body telling you, let's go, let's fucking go. We're gonna race, we're gonna have fun. So that's a good way of interpreting that internal energy, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. But if you're getting that energy and now you're starting to imagine that everyone is gonna crash or that you are gonna spin and crash, then you convert that nervousness into anxiety, into a negative thing that's dragging you down. That's like consuming your energy. So there's a way to repurpose your body adrenaline, your body energy as the race starts. And a good way to develop that, to make that happen easily, is by creating a muscle memory, by creating an automation of, hey, I want to go fast, I want to be ahead. And then from there, you take all the racecraft skills, you take all the car handling skills to stay ahead and go fast. And because there are so many things that you need to do to stay ahead and go fast, by occupying that mental space with the technical things that you have to do to go fast, you're gonna fill up your brain. There's gonna be no room for being scared or being anxious anymore. And that's where like you consume all your space for that. It becomes easy to not be scared anymore
Mm.
because there's no space to think about that. There's no time to think about that.
When when you're racing and you're occupying your mind so much with where's my breaking point, what entry angle do I have, and so on and so forth, how much of your brain is occupied with that, what you need to do in that moment, versus what's the overall strategy? Do I pit to undercut someone? Where is my nearest opponent? Where would I come out? How much of that is also on your team that they're communicating with you in your ear versus how much of that are you thinking of?
It depends a lot on the strategy itself. So when it comes to fighting for position, that's my plan, that's my responsibility. When it comes to pit stops, that's my team's responsibility. So what you do before the race is you determine who has what role, and then as soon as that role is not with me anymore, I won't even think about it. I'm just gonna wait for the signal. So
Mm.
it depends on what has been assigned to you as a racer before the race, depending on the race.
Mm.
So in that case, for example, if I'm thinking about, oh, I need to pass that guy on that corner in 5 laps, I'm gonna build up to that. Then I'm gonna connect the fact that I'm trying to get the braking zones and everything with that in mind, with knowing that in 5 laps I'm gonna be closing up enough to actually make a move.
Yeah.
So because that's my responsibility, then yes, I have to think about it long term. But again, that comes with experience. Like you have several. levels of consciousness, and the most punctual, the most subtle, and like the most subtle techniques are always in the subconscious. The way you're releasing the brakes, the way you're like where you're breaking your lines, those are happening here automatically almost because you have practiced for that.
Yeah.
Then you have like a slightly superior level where you're starting to think about your tires and how you have to adjust your aggressiveness. And then you have a superior level about like who you have to pass. And then you have a superior until you get to the top of to the guy who's like controlling the whole thing. And then on top of that guy, you have the one who's scared. It's like, bro, that was scary. So it depends a lot on how much repetition there is, because the brain is very efficient at like if you're doing something forever, you don't have to think about it. Like breathing, you're not gonna think about it because it would be very tiring to be all the time trying to breathe. So that thing is completely on the subconscious level. The same way on the straight, you're not gonna think about pushing the pedal because you're on the straight, you're accelerating. Like it's there. You're like it happens naturally.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens to many like hundreds of tiny techniques and things that and adjustments that you have to do while driving a race car. If you repeat it enough and it's something that you're gonna have to do all laps all the time, then you don't have to really think about it, and you save the conscious space to think about things that you have to change over time.
Mm-mm-mm. You bought your own race car. How the fuck does that even work? Like, where do you buy your own race car? How much was it? And what are you doing with it when it's not, when, I mean, it's got to stand somewhere probably, and you probably have to maintain it somehow. How does that look like? How can I imagine that?
So that all started with the decision, what should I do with my money? So in 2023, I was able to pay all my employees, all my team, uh, and I found myself with $200,000 worth of cash flow. And I
Nice.
was like, I could reinvest this thing in S&P 500. I could try to find a financial advisor, pay him 1% and say, hey, take care of my money. Or I could invest in myself. So I decided out of nowhere to burn 100% of that money into a car that was worth $200,000. So I had $200,000 on Monday, zero on Tuesday. Because I literally, when you buy a race car, you don't finance it. You pay it up front, like all of it. So I did buy a brand new Radical from Radical Canada, and they had it shipped from England urgently because my race was gonna start in like 4 weeks, 3 weeks or something. And then I sent it straight to the team, and then I asked the team if they could take care of my car. So now actually the team received my car, started prepping the car, wrapped the car. All I needed to do was contact the right people to take care of it, to send the right parts, and contact the guy who was gonna design delivery and everything. And then nowadays it's a different team because I changed teams. But even when I did change teams, one team picked up the car in the other team's place because like all this was happening in the US and the west part of Canada. I was here at home, like I was just like connecting with them because I don't have a car. I actually don't drive in the city. I don't have a truck and trailer. So like generally the teams take care of the transportation of the race car unless you're your own race team, which is more common in grassroots. You have like those drivers who buy a little trailer, or they even like just drag their race cars into the track, and they have their own tools and everything. I never had that because I went straight to Radical, and there's like professional teams that do take care of it for you. So that's what I did. I got 200K. I decided to take a big risk and invest it in myself because I knew that if I did invest in S&P 500, that money would have been probably 205 or 204K by then. It's like, why? Now, actually, what I did, I made already 800 back.
Nice.
So it was definitely worth it. I did get back like over 1,000% because the whole plan was to buy a car to prove a point, to tell a story, and to make people look. I fabricate. I didn't fabricate because the success was actually there, but I really went all in on making it look good. It's like, hey, I'm a successful person, and it was always a marketing strategy. I bought the car, I painted it with my colors and everything
Yeah.
to 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 prove to people that I was legit. It was not just a kid playing sim racing, especially because my courses are slightly expensive, not too expensive for real life drivers, but they are mostly expensive for sim racers. And because that is my main audience, I needed to show them, hey, like what I did in sim racing allowed me to do this. It's legit. And then after I bought the car, like I just started getting a lot more sales and people started trusting me more and even more sponsors now because people look at me and they look at success. They want to get on board the success.
Yeah.
And that's my manipulation, you know, just marketing, essentially just marketing strategy and try to have a good reputation out there. And since then in 2024, we already spent over $500,000 in racing because it's not only buying the car, it's transporting the car, it's flying for the races, it's paying the entry fees, it's paying the team fees, crash damage, fuel, tires, everything. Like it's a lot of money. I spent way more with the racing expenses themselves than actually the car.
Yeah.
And that my plan for next year is to get more sponsorship funds so that I don't have to burn so much of this money because I know that I can deliver um a lot more value to sponsors than the average racing driver. Because the way racing drivers make the sponsors make money traditionally is by driving fast, staying ahead, winning races, and then having them being talked about by racing magazines or in the series they show up there in the podium with a podium picture and then they have the logos and thank you X sponsor for the support and this and this that. But that's a high risk investment for most sponsors because if your sponsored driver doesn't win, then you're just spending tens of thousands of dollars for nothing. And my approach was, I think, for now, the most genius part, like I'm super proud of, is the fact that if you're sponsoring me and I crash, that's good for you because I am gonna make a hell of a story out of that crash. And I already have my own audience. I have on average 4 to 5 million views a month and a total of 200 million views so far. And if something like dramatic happens and I'm gonna make a video about it, it's gonna go viral. So the results that the sponsors get from me are mostly from my exposure, from my storytelling, and that's pretty much guaranteed because I'm gonna make a good story, regardless of what happens. And that's something that a lot of people don't really know. 75 things happen in the race weekend. I'm gonna choose 5 and I'm gonna build the storyline around those 5. And I'm gonna make it look. There's gonna be tension on the beginning. There's gonna be stakes. There's gonna be release. There's gonna be a peak. So I know how to manage the story, regardless of what happens. Sometimes the most boring races are the ones that somehow I succeed in telling a good story,
Yeah.
and people love it. So because I now have this kind of confidence that I can tell stories very well, regardless of what happens, that's a 100% guarantee for my sponsors that they're gonna get what they want.
A quick interlude here. How amazing is Suellio? Really, really epic, inspiring story. Hey, listen, he's a coach and he's financed his entire dream from his coaching money. I'm financing my entire travels, my entire hobbies, literally everything I do from my coaching money. Literally right now we're in Marbella, Spain. Couldn't do that if it hadn't been for my online coaching business. And I get approached so many times by people saying, Max, how do I get started? Max, I'm already a coach. How can I do this online? How can I get more clients come to me? We've literally helped over 3,000 people since 2019. We've been in this industry for so long. We've been crushing with so many people. We have beginners making the first 3, 4, 5,000 a month, all the way up to 30,000 a month. We have advanced clients that make up to $500,000 a month. And if you want our help, literally just book a call with me and my team of experts. The call is entirely for free. It's no pressure. That's where you can ask your questions. That's where you can ask us to create a plan for you to start getting your first clients, build up a social media brand, or even scale and make even more money that you're making right now. I'm going to put a link down in the description below for you to book that call. That call is very, very sought after. So if the link still works, it means we still have a spot open for you. That being said, you can open that as a new tab right now. And now let's continue with the really awesome conversation. Man, what you said about making boring races is interesting. What you said earlier about crafting your story by buying the car to tell people the story of like, hey, it's possible, and then that feeding back into your sim racing coaching. That's really, really smart. Like, I've worked with so many coaches. I've worked with a lot of people. We help them with the marketing. Hearing that is like, okay, you're really, really smart. Your thought process is super on point. How much of these ideas are purely from you? Do you have a marketing team, a marketing mentor behind that, or is it all from you?
I am my marketing manager.
Wow.
I so far have not found anyone that I believe is worthy of helping me with my marketing. Because I believe that. So I am a CEO. I'm a founder and CEO, but I'm also the CMO of my company. I do have a CFO. I do have a CTO, which is a UX designer who actually takes care of the whole technology part of it, the whole experience, user experience. My team has like 12 people right now, and we have a lot of people, but we still don't have a CMO because what I believe happens, which is just a natural thing, is that if you're very good with marketing, you're probably going to build your own business instead of trying to work for someone else. And most of my experiences so far in the last 3 years trying to find good marketing people, they were saying, "Oh, I built this business that is worth 1.5 mil, whatever." And then back then I bought into that and I got them in. But then I started noticing like, wait. If you built a business that is worth 1.5 mil, what the fuck are you doing with me? Like, why are you not taking care of your business instead? And then I realized that no, their business actually failed. So like, um, yeah, it's very difficult. I do have more and more people helping me with planning, with marketing strategies. I just got a copywriter who, for example, helps is very good with funnels, and he helps me give me ideas, but I always pre-approve them, and I always take the final decisions when it comes to marketing, because content creation and marketing is kind of pretty much the same thing nowadays, especially if you sell stuff. So I end up being my own marketing manager. And because I'm very good at that, for example, I'm very good at marketing. I'm not very good at managing sponsorships. I'm not very good at finding people to sponsor me in real life. I'm terrible at that. So I find someone who's better than me at that, so that I don't have to worry about what I'm bad at, and I can focus on what I'm good at. So now I am my CMO because I have not found anyone who could do that job better than me.
Yeah.
And because I understand my audience too, I understand my community, and I try to have a personal connection to them. Right now, you're gonna laugh at this. I launched an email marketing funnel where I got 7,000 emails in a week. And for those 7,000 emails, there's a sequence of 7 days, one email per day. I know it's pretty much, it's a lot. On the seventh email, I say, if you still have not bought the course, I want you to tell me to reply this email with your story, and I'm going to read your story and give you advice and a discount. And I sent this to 7,000 people. And right now, I'm starting to get replies, and it's a lot of people. It's a lot of replies. It's like 20, 30, 40, 50 a day. And it's still starting, because one of these days we launched some paid ads. We got 2,600 emails in a day. So that was, I think, 18th of September. So in 2 days, I'm going to probably get 200, 300 emails from these guys. And I'm actually taking the time to read them one by one and personally respond to them. And people are loving it. People are actually commenting like, it's amazing that you're actually doing this yourself. You're taking the time to read the stories of so many people. And it's great for me to understand on a personal level, not on a technical database level, survey numbers, graphs, and percentages. No, I'm understanding my audience on a personal level, where they come from, what are their struggles, and how they got to know me, and how that video that I posted like a year ago is affecting their lives. And it just fulfills this human side of my business that I really like. And of course, I'm doing this as much as I can. At some point, it might be too much, too many emails, because it's starting to take like 1-2 hours a day to read them and to respond. But for now, I'm trying this. I'm trying this human side of marketing. It's really great. It's amazing.
Since we mentioned earlier in terms of racing, there's a lot of things people can do in their childhood that makes racing or learning racing easier. How was that for you with marketing? Did you do things before that where you're like, oh, it's kind of similar like that, and you're tapping into this, or were you completely had no clue
Google.
and you just had to figure? Okay, you just had to figure it
I
out.
just Google it. Yeah. I just started I always streamed on Twitch. So that was my first contact with being exposed to people and always being judged and watched.
Yeah.
I did stream on Twitch for 2 years before I launched my online course. And when I launched my online course, I went to Instagram and I started posting some stuff. I got like 5K, 5K, 5K views. I was like, that's shit. Then I started like studying the algorithm. And then as soon as I changed my style and started making reels with in the right way and understanding the first seconds and the hooks and everything, my views went from 5K to 3 million in like a day. That was crazy. And that's how I started like really understanding content creation. I was already pretty good at editing because I always wanted to edit things in here and there. Like I always use Premiere all my life. Right now, if you look at me editing on Premiere and you only look at this keyboard, you can swear that I'm actually playing an FPS game because I so fast. I'm so fast with the key with the shortcuts because I had built the whole sequence of like shortcuts so that I can edit super fast, and I love doing it too. So this is why like I don't plan. There are some plans, some things in my business that I really don't plan on delegating because I just like doing it.
Mm.
So that's part of the marketing decisions. That's part of talking to my prospects on email. It's part of editing, part of recording, and like some of this stuff. I want to do it, and I only want help from from other people in things that they are obviously better than me at doing, and that I don't really enjoy doing it.
Mm. The same with the video editing. It was, I think, one of the last things I delegated as well because I was like, no, I want the exact perfect frame for the cut, and then I want the color grading to look like this. So it was really really hard for me to ever get rid of that, and sometimes I still do it myself as well. Just like you said, it's like fuck it, I want to edit that myself,
But
especially with
I
shorts.
don't edit the color grading or these things. Actually, I still have an editor, but the storytelling bit I do. So all
Mm,
the cuts and the building blocks and the timing of the things and the script and recording and cutting, all that's me. And
sick.
then at the end, that last 20%, my editor does it. The caption, the color grading, the music, the SFX, the all those little things. He does it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's sick. What are like some people that you watch in terms of content creation where like that's an inspiration from you?
Uh, in terms of like I don't know. I watch a little bit of everything on YouTube, really. Like, I love Veritasium. I love Smart Everyday, Vsauce, all those like science
Yeah.
uh, channels. I do watch my competitors. It's weird to call competitors, but I do watch like Jimmy, Misha. I watch Danny Lee, DJE. I watch Alberto Nasca, all these guys, and I want to see what they're doing. I want to understand what they're doing. I want to enjoy what they're doing and see what I don't enjoy and so on. Sometimes I watch my own stuff
Mm.
just to see, like, try to watch it from an outside perspective, which is pretty difficult. Um, but yeah, I watch a little bit of everything all the time. It's very difficult to see. Sometimes I spend days watching a bunch of stuff. Sometimes I just watch Vikings on Netflix. So it's just, I guess it really depends.
Oh man. To get back to the car thing that you said earlier, so you bought that real life car, you sent it straight to the team. How much time did you even have to get used to that? Did you have test runs before you took it to a race?
Yeah, yeah. No, my team was great. He brought they brought me to 2 or 3 tracks for the whole day to really just get track time and try and drive on shady tires, just like try to get a feel for the car. And I got a lot of track time. I mean, when I say a lot, probably like 8 to 10 hours before my actual first race. And even in my first race, I was not driving very well. And then I got more track time. And then I went to Dubai to race more radicals. And then I came back and I started racing more and more and more. So yeah, no, I think with the we had I had always good teams around me making sure that I was being prepared because they understood like this dude doesn't know anything about real cars. Like he's a sim racer, never had a car in his own like in his own place.
Yeah.
So let's help him. And I always like super grateful for having the right preparation.
What made you pick radicals in the first place?
Advice from people around the motorsports world. They were like, "Oh, you can go to MX5 Cup. You can do more grassroots endurance. You can do this and this and that, or you can do radicals. Radicals are pretty good because of this and this and this and that." And then I started talking to more people, and yeah, radical seemed to be um the right choice for me. Some people would think that it was going to be too difficult, and then I went to the 1340 class, which is like the least competitive class, but it's still competitive
Mm.
compared to other forms of racing. And people thought I was going to be destroyed. And I kind of was more or less destroyed in the first 2 rounds, but then I picked it up and now I'm leading the championship. Um,
Boom.
yeah, we have actually, I'm traveling tomorrow or after tomorrow to do our last race.
Is there still a chance that you don't get the championship, mathematically speaking, or you got it in the sack?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's actually pretty difficult right now. So if my rival wins all 3 races, he's champion.
Mm.
So I can't crash at all. I have to be on the podium as much as possible, and I have to stay ahead of him at least one of the races.
Okay.
And he's definitely very competitive, so that's it's not gonna be easy actually.
What does your competitor do for a living? What's his background?
I don't know exactly for a job, but I know that he has raced already in the 24 hours of Le Mans. He's a
Ooh.
veteran driver. He's older, and he's done racing for probably more than my own age.
Do you? What's your relationship to your competitors? Is it? How would you say? Is it conflict, or are you super friendly to each other off track? Do you know these guys? Do you hang out with them, or you don't talk to them because you want to beat them?
No, we did talk. I think we developed some limited friendship. Like we don't talk privately, but when we see each other on track, it's like, yo, I'm gonna hit you today. Like stuff like that. Like it's kind of like a positive thing. And then after races, we generally like, hey, that was good, man, and we hug and everything. So even when shit happens, so I think it's a good relationship that I have mostly built with my competitors.
Yeah. I mean, when you mention things like your competitor has been racing in Le Mans, is that on your radar at all? Where do you see yourself in terms of real life racing in the next 5-10 years?
I think that's one of the goals is to do the 24 hours of Le Mans, but that's kind of like one of those bucket list things that are probably gonna give you a very short term amount of joy and happiness. Um, be like below that, I have the goal of being extremely stable, build a stable business, build a stable racing career, and always be able to race, to travel the perfect amount without burning out and being able to create my content, all that while handling my community and while building my story. Um, but yeah, because I say all this because when you do move up, for example, I just raced LMP3s in Germany against Schumachers, like the actual like David and Ralph Schumacher, and I was there. I couldn't really have all the cameras that I wanted. I couldn't really tell the story the way that I can when I'm with the radicals because there's a lot more restrictions. So it's a much higher level, higher stress, extremely competitive. Well, where your competitors have 10 times your experience. It's brutal and it's limiting in terms of content creation. So I'm thinking, well, if I go through this route, I'm going to have to adjust my business. I'm going to have to adjust my content creation. So I'm a little bit scared of moving up more and more and more. And for example, if I go to WEC, let's say WEC World Endurance Championship is the championship that contains the 24 hours of Le Mans as one of the races. If you do that, you have 21 race weekends. So how is your life when you travel 21 times every 52 weekends?
Mm.
after every 52 weeks. It's pretty crazy. You have to be very tuned into that.
Mm.
And although it is kind of a dream for a lot of people, well, me being a founder and a business owner right now, it might not be feasible. It can be maybe in the future if I do delegate the fuck out of the of the business. But like I'm not looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to achieving what I did in 2024 again with slight adjustments.
Mm.
2024 was the best year of my life. I bought a race car, I raced the whole championship, and I'm about to become champion, hopefully. And that money that I invested allowed me to tell my story. I doubled my audience. I made that money back 1,000%, and I had a pretty stable lifestyle, like traveling not too much. But I think I did travel like 15 times this year,
Crazy
not
though.
too much, but that's already like on the border of being too much.
Mm.
So I'm just thinking like, how can I make 2025 as stable for me as 2024 was, without getting into any kind of crazy dream that is not going to be feasible.
Yeah.
Like people ask, "Oh, do you want to go to Formula One?" No, I don't want to do Formula One. I don't want to race for 26 weekends and be careful about everything that I'm saying with PR, and like you're extremely limited just so you can race Formula One. I prefer to race some other form of racing where I can still tell my story very well. I can still have like full ownership of the story that I'm creating, and at the same time inspiring people to follow that route and still having a healthy business.
I mean, what was the biggest in terms of content creation, the biggest game changer for me with all the traveling is just get like full-time videographers that travel with you. That's what we're doing here. Because it's exactly the same as you said. It's like when you're going somewhere to do something, in your case racing, you want to be able to focus on that and don't have to have your mind on like, oh, what camera am I going to put somewhere and how do I get the shots and stuff like that. It's a huge pain in the ass, and it took me a really long time with multiple people to figure out how to do that. So for example, when I go snowboarding in the Austrian Alps, I'm like, perfect snow conditions, I want to hit the powder. But then I'm like, I don't want to have to be like, is the camera ready? Like, where are we going to shoot it? Like, I want to travel with someone that is like, gets off the lift with me, boom, boom, let's go. So it doesn't interfere with the activity itself. But it's really hard to get there. And a lot of content creators never make that work. So yeah, that's obviously like one of the biggest needle movers. And then at the same time, do you, when you're racing and you're still thinking about the content creation as well, do you get out of the car and you check the shots and like, okay, where is the camera? What do we do? How do you balance that?
I don't think about it.
Okay, I was gonna say you're
I'm a
gonna have.
videographer that takes care of everything.
Okay, that's
And then,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, he just asked me how was it, takes notes, and then when we get back to the hotel, we start brainstorming stuff. But I don't think about it during the race.
So when you get back to the hotel, you're like, okay, what story are we gonna make out of the race that happened?
Yeah, exactly. So we get the best points, the best storytelling bits of that day. If it's the last day, we already have an idea of what we're gonna do. If it's not, it depends on what's gonna happen tomorrow and so on. But yeah, we already built a system where he's labeling all the footage so that he can send to me the the project. So for example, when it comes to editing, I don't have to take care of any kind of organization. I just receive a project file with all the dialogue footage, all the interviews, all the talking bits in chronological order. So all I need to do is go through it, and then I have that dialogue project. Then I have the onboards project, which is exactly what happens in the race. I sync that with the radio. I sync all the four cameras. I start like getting them like all lined up, and then I start building the whole outline of the story, and then I start interjecting the dialogues with the onboards, with the dialogues, with the onboards, with the dialogues, and then we get all the broadcasts commentators, and then we try to get those bits where they're talking about us or talking about our fights, and then we start spreading them throughout the video so that each part has a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of onboard, has a little bit of me talking, has a little bit of someone else talking. And then that's how we create this like almost documentary base, but it's still kind of like sometimes it looks like a documentary, sometimes it looks like a movie. But that's the process that we always do.
Damn, that's actually really geez. Like that, we're gonna do that too. Like after each shooting day, kind of like a debrief thing. We've never done that. We always just like, let's shoot and then let's come up with something. But I like this daily debrief where you're sitting together and you're like, what did we film today? How does that fit in the timeline? Super genius stuff. Did you ever have any crazy close calls and like during a race where you're like, holy shit, this could have gone really, really bad? How much of those have been caught on camera? Because I saw some of them on your channel. And how much of those were you like, I wish we would have caught that?
All of that, everything. All my racing career in 2024 was caught on camera. I
Wow.
always recorded everything. So yeah, what you see on Instagram is the best moments actually.
Damn, that is so sick, man. That is. I don't think there's a lot of content creators in your niche, if any, that really go the extra fucking mile and say we're gonna film everything. There's a lot of people dabble. They're like, yeah, you know, sometimes I'll have a team with me, sometimes not. But you going all in, that's pretty fucking impressive, man.
The starting point, man, of all this is money. So if you do have the money to build a team that allows you to achieve all those things in the first place, then you're already ahead of a lot of people. Because the reason people don't do that is because they don't have the money to do it. And the reason I started racing is because I made money coaching. So I was just very lucky. Like everything in my life happened in the right time, in the right way, that allowed me to leverage all that. So that's why for me, I'm able. I don't really even worry about competitors. Like, because I'm in such a high advantage spot right now in terms of coaching. I already have the reputation. In terms of racing and content creation, I already have my whole team, and I pay them well. It's very expensive because they travel with me all the time. They're dedicating their lives to follow my career and everything. And that's like it's very difficult to have someone who barely has the money to pay for racing, and then on top of that pay for someone else to go with you and their flights and their hotels and their transport and everything, and their rates. So it is such a privilege for me to be able to have a team and to be able to pay them to have that. And that is part of what's fueling itself and allowing me to grow more and more quickly, more exponentially.
Sick. And the thing is too, you could keep this money for your own profits. You can say, fuck it, I'd rather have a higher profit margins instead of going the extra mile and filming everything. And then, you know, whatever 80% of it is just going to end up on the cutting room floor and 20% of it is going to use. Like I've seen business owners, I've worked with people like that say, fuck it, I'd rather have a few $1,000s extra in profit instead of paying staff and putting all the work in. But the thing with social media specifically, and I'm sure you can relate to it too, is like, it's not linear growth. It's not like you start streaming or you start posting content and then, you know, your next piece of content is going to get more views than the one before and so on and so forth. Usually it's the way we say nothing happens until everything happens. So a lot of time when you start posting content, even though you learn and you get better and you put more effort in it, it's always just going to stay flatline until that one critical point where all of a sudden things happen and build upon each other and move up and you explode. And then if you stay in a career long enough, you'll have multiple of these critical points where that one video that you posted goes viral and a couple months later you have another one and that doubles your view rate, that doubles your subscriber base and so on and so forth. And if you stay long enough, these little crazy events, they just stack up and you grow more and more and more. But most content creators, like you said, they're not going to put in that work. They're not going to, they'd rather take the short-term gratification of saying, fuck it, I want to have more profit instead of paying a team and putting all the effort in. And you're such a perfect example of just doubling down and just continuing the brand and making it bigger and reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. And I think, you know, that's why, like you said correctly, you don't have to worry about competitors because most people don't have that thinking. Most people don't think long-term. They think too short-term. One other thing that I wanted to ask is you said you got your team, the team took care of the car and all that jazz. How much does a team cost? How much of it gets financed through your results, through your sponsors? How much do you have to pay up front, if there is any? How can I think about that financially speaking?
In 2024, I paid it all 100% from my own money. And then at the very end of this year, I started getting some support from sponsors. My main sponsors are Logitech G and World of Racing. But like, so it's expensive, man. Like per race weekend, it's $25,000 USD for the team. And this is like because I own the car. So it is pretty expensive. It's when I started this championship, I had to keep selling my courses because that's where the money was coming from. Otherwise, I would have to stop. So right now, the last race that I did with the LMP3 was heavily sponsored, so I had to pay a lot less from my own pocket, like 10,000 or something, which is still a lot. But like, I mean, you're racing prototypes that cost millions of dollars, so relatively, it was almost nothing. And the goal for next year is to build enough relationships with companies that finally will see the value. I mean, there's a fuck ton of value on my socials. Like if someone wants to sponsor me and actually have my car with their colors, like the value on that is it's crazy. It's just a matter now of understanding how we can connect with these people and convince them, hey, like you're probably already investing six figures in something else. What if you wanted to invest that into an actual warm audience that will trust the driver? Because for me, what I see in my audience is if I'm sponsored by someone, people are grateful for that sponsor.
Yeah.
They might actually support the sponsor big time, and the image that, because the way I built my community was a lot over a positive approach, always like never being toxic or negative towards anything, always trying to inspire people to actually reap the good stuff out of racing. Especially because a lot of my students have difficult lives and they see sim racing and racing as a way to rest, to chill a little bit and to recover, to heal from their real life struggles. So because there's this high energy positive environment for me, any company that decides to help my career will get that for themselves in a way. I see that with Logitech. I see that with World of Racing. Like it seems like my audience is very grateful for my sponsors. So the goal for next year is to build a nice deck and actually tell them all that I'm telling you. Like, hey, listen, this is a safe way for you if you want to sponsor racing drivers. This is a safe route, and I can guarantee that. So right now I have a manager who's talking to another manager, and all the talks are going on, and we're trying to connect to some companies and everything. So let's see how it goes.
I mean, that was what I was going to ask you too. You said you're getting sponsors, but you don't reach out to them personally. You have a manager who does that. What's the general process, bird's eye view? How do you even get sponsors? Have you ever been approached by sponsors like, hey, we watch your shed, let's do something?
All my sponsors I have been approached for, approached to, approached by, approached by. So all my Logitech approached me, and World of Racing approached me. Sick. The way I got my two biggest sponsors so far was essentially by existing. I actually did not reach out because I never had I never really developed this side very well, because most real racing drivers, they really spend a lot of energy trying to get their money through sponsors. I can make a lot more money by selling courses. So for me, it's just not worth it to try to stack up 5 sponsors and get a lot of activations and a lot of work for them, because I can probably make more money by spending that time working on my own stuff. So for me, it's only going to be worth it to get sponsors if the value is higher than what I can make on my own with courses. And honestly, I really love like my own business. I really believe in the results. I mean, I don't have to believe, I can see the results from my students and everything. That's genuine. That's something I love. That's something I can guarantee that I can do. As soon as you start getting into a sponsorship deal where you have to promote a product or something, even if you do believe in it, that's not you. So
Yeah.
you start working for others in a way. So for me, for a sponsorship deal to be worth it, it has to be very good.
Yeah. Same.
It has to be something really, really good, financially speaking, in terms of activations, in terms of like what brand it is. I now have the privilege to choose who sponsors me, which is great. Not a lot of people can do that. And that's why I never really got more than only two sponsors, because mostly I take all my energy and I try to make money by sponsoring myself. That's why my car has my colors, because I took $200,000 and gave it to my company. Okay, here's the money now. Make me sell more courses, and then you see, I'm my own sponsor in a way.
I mean, the thing with outside sponsors is always, like you said, like, even if you really believe in it, it waters down your own message. It waters down your own brand. Um, Same for this podcast. People ask me, like, why don't you do sponsors on the podcast? Maybe I will do sponsors at some point. You know, it's like, this episode's been brought to you by AG1. You know, I don't do that. Mainly because also, like I said, number one, I make my own money. This podcast obviously also helps me build more trust, build more engagement, and all that jazz, which then in later turn helps me sell my own online coaching programs. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, maybe I will get sponsors at some point, but it really has to be something that I've been using, that I'm into, where I'm like, this is genuinely something I want people to have. If anything at all, because like I said, like, I always end up making more money if I just sell my own things. And I can also, I mean, if, you know, it's my name on the fucking courses that I have. So it damn right is something that I truly, truly, truly believe in, and that I also actively work on every day, every week, every month of the year to make it better. And you just don't have that sort of control when you're sponsoring someone or something else. Again, like, maybe I will have sponsors at some point. I don't know. I'm always open to the idea, never say never. But like I said, like, especially nowadays as well, sponsors are not as important anymore, right? 10, 20 years ago, no sponsors, you're fucked. Nowadays, it's like you can have your own thing. You can be in control of it. You can, like you said, like, for you, it feeds into each other, right? Your racing feeds into your social media feeds into your money-making opportunities, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's a great time we live in with a lot of great opportunities in this regard. You said, because we wanted to get together in person as well, but it just didn't work because you'll be in San Fran in next month and I'll be in LA, and it's like too far away and all that jazz. But what does your next couple months, weeks look like? You teased it earlier. You have 3 more races to become champion. Do you have any other races coming up?
I might do the world finals at Abu Dhabi in November. I have a sim racing exposition in Germany in October. So I have 2 more trips to do. I did have some racing opportunities, but they were very expensive, and I was like, marketing wise, I don't need to spend this extra money. I already have enough stories, enough material in terms of real life racing to use for my marketing things. Of course, I do need track time. I would still want to be a racing driver, but I gotta be very careful not to overspend, because I have been overspending way too much this year. That's why I got a CFO and everything. So it's all in the plans to chill a little bit at the end of the year and really create a strong plan for 2025. So we have 3 more trips, and then after that, it's just gonna be planning, talking to people and figuring out what is gonna be the future of the whole story and the whole brand.
Sick. Again, here, long-term thinking. You're just like, cool. Like, you're already planning in the planning for next year. How do you usually prepare for a race? Do you race the specific track in the sim beforehand? What is the, what does the timeline look like? A month before the race, a week before the race, a day before the race?
Honestly, recently, not too much preparation. I did 1 hour of practice at Sonoma with my sim with one of my colleague coaches that I asked him to coach me. And that was enough to learn more or less what the track is and what we need to do. That's a bad thing, honestly, because, well, in a way, what really prepared me for this race was not the week before. And I say this all the time. It's not the week before it's going to make you win the race. It's the 10,000 hours of practice before that that allow you to develop a strong and adaptable, flexible technique that you can quickly adapt in real life. Because right now, trying to put in 15 hours of practice in the simulator is not going to be a great thing, because the conditions in real life are going to be different. So if I don't want to solidify my braking references and lines and create uh, vices and create habits that are going to be too solidified, because as soon as I get in the real thing, I'm going to have to adapt everything to the tire compound, to the track conditions, to the pavement, to the weather, to, you know, to the even the layout is not going to be exactly the same. So what I did is I work mostly on my technique as a whole instead of practicing that exact car track combo. And that's already enough for me to have a fresh, flexible, elastic technique that I can mold to the conditions that the real track are gonna have.
So how many laps does it take you from, you know, tires in the tarmac to you knowing exactly your braking points and how to adjust?
It's taking less and less and less as I gain experience,
Yeah.
but because it's still like one of my first years in real life, it's taking longer than necessary. Not necessary, longer than what people would expect. It is necessary because I'm learning. Um, Around 1 2 hours of driving, I'm starting to get pretty close to the limit. Yeah, I think I would say around 2 hours is back then it was 4 hours, five
Wow.
hours, and then now it's getting less and less and less. At some point, early next year or maybe in 2 years, it's gonna take me 30 minutes to already be doing a very competitive lap time and everything. So this build up process of how you recognize and understand the grip becomes shorter and shorter the more you drive in real life.
Yeah. What is like your goal when you hit a track for the first time? You first trying to get the line right and then push more and more? Or technically speaking, what is the first couple things you focus on?
Feel, absorb, just open up your mind, drive, and feel how much force you can get from this corner. Feel how the car behaves. Feel this. Feel how it stops. Feels how it locks. Feels like you have to feel everything. Just gather data. You're soaking up data on the first few laps, and then after that, you start to interpret that data and start to use that data to build the right plan, the right lines, the right braking. But at first, it's just feeling it out, feeling it out.
Damn, man. Man, you get me so excited about this. You have no idea. Do you have any sort of rituals before you hit a race? Like, I gotta listen to this song before I hit the race. What do you eat before? Like, because I've heard, for example, you shouldn't race on an empty stomach because it can make you nauseous. So when I was at the Nürburgring, I usually fast in the morning. So I'm like, I'm not gonna eat, do my fasting thing. And then the lady, we were staying at one of the Nürburgring hotels, you know, like the ones right next to the track. And there was some old German lady, and she just shared like horror stories with me, people throwing up. I'm like, oh my God, really? Give me some of that breakfast. How is it with you?
Yeah, I've built some habits. I definitely take coffee and eggs. Nothing
Mm.
else. Nothing else. No bread, no cheese, no milk. Coffee and eggs. That's it for before the race. I also listen to music big time. Um, I stretch. Sometimes I vape, so I do vape, so I heavily addicted to nicotine. That kind of like, in a way, I assume because I'm addicted. That's why I'm saying this. I assume that it helps me
Mm.
get me in the right mental space, especially because I have been doing it throughout my whole championship. So it's one of the factors that's in it. So I do smoke. I do vape before the races as well. And if I stop doing it right now because I'm trying to be healthier, well, now I'm gonna change my pattern, and I've been doing it for the whole championship, so I'm not gonna stop it on the last round. On the last round.
Mhm.
So yeah, essentially, coffee and eggs in the morning, vape before the race, stretch big time, run a little bit to get the blood running, listen to music. Sometimes I sleep before the race in the car on the pre-grid.
Oh, no
I don't
shit.
know how my body just shuts off. Because like your pre-grid is generally like 20, 25 minutes. So you're just sitting there strapped and you're just waiting and your mechanic is like with the umbrella. So I'm
Mm,
just there. And then I just sleep big time.
damn.
And then I just hear him like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute. So as soon as I got the 1 minute, I start waking up, start like strapping. And then on the out lap, that's where my body turns on the racer mode with the adrenaline and everything. So it's like I created this, and I have some colleagues, some racing drivers, teammates that said that they tried their best to not sleep because it doesn't help them. But for me, I noticed that me sleeping doesn't hurt at all the energy that I have when the race starts. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. Like it's almost like my body is just retreating a little bit before it goes full attack.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so used to taking naps before the race that I don't even worry about it anymore.
Is that? Do you know other people that take naps? Is that something special?
I have no idea.
Would
Maybe
be
some people do.
Yeah, would be interesting because it kind of the way you describe it kind of makes sense. You're like relaxing, being in the Zen mode, slipping away into some sleep, and then like, okay, now let's fucking go. I can
Saving
imagine that it
energy.
works. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what about the coffee and eggs? Does it have any purpose, or is it just like it just became routine for some reason?
It's just safe food. So, for example, if I eat bread and cheese, I can get bloated, and you don't want to be bloated when with the belts like smashing you, crushing you. So, I eat eggs every day all my life, and I know that nothing happens if I eat it. Like I feel great, I feel good, I feel stable. And coffee, because I am also addicted to coffee. I'm addicted to many things, and it just makes me energetic and everything. So I don't want to have a coffee crash in the race. So it's just because I know it works. It's not gonna fuck me out in any ways.
I mean, coffee and nicotine, like empires have been built by coffee and nicotine, man. If you ever read I'm not even a book writer or anything, although I did write 2 books more or less. But if you ever read a book by Stephen King on writing, he literally is just like, all he does is caffeine and nicotine. His entire book writing career is built on caffeine and nicotine. And this is really crazy. Stephen King, really read the book. I'm not making this up. Some of the books he just wrote high on cocaine, high as a kite, and he said he can't even remember writing certain books because he's just like for like weeks high. And then he stopped taking. This is not me advertising cocaine by all means. He stopped taking cocaine, and then he replaced it with caffeine and nicotine. He's just chain smoking coffee nonstop, fucking writing. And when I write content, especially short form video content, I always do everything in bulk. So I love, like a 2-3 hour writing session where I just sit down, check out stuff, whatever inspires me. I drink like a triple shot of espresso, and I either smoke a hookah or cigar. Because like you said, like that nicotine gets your brain fired up, the synapses, especially when it comes to creativity and focus. I usually don't smoke and I usually don't drink coffee, but I do it for that. And then I just write in bulk. And then also when I create short form video content, I also caffeine and nicotine. And then we just shoot for 2, 3, 4 hours in a row. We get like 30, 60, 90 pieces of content out. And it's fun too. Like that's how you make it fun. At least in my book.
The reason I started it was for writing actually. So I did smoke cigarettes. Like I was never addicted to cigarettes. Like I smoked like socially with people and everything. And then I started researching how I could get more words out per day when I was writing my book. And then one of the things that a lot of people talked about was like nicotine is the way for you to write more quickly because your thoughts are just more streamlined. And then I started taking those nicotine sprays for the sake of writing.
Oh,
And
sick.
then it actually helped. My word counts started going up from 800 to 1.2K, 1.3K, 1.4K, sometimes 2K. And then I just kept doing it. And then 6 months later, then I realized that I was actually addicted to it, that I wanted to do it even when I was not actually going to write. And then it kind of became my new lifestyle. I've tried to quit. And then I had like periods of like 1 month without it, 1 month with it. I was like, I won't die without it, but like, I mean, I know it's not very good for your health, but it's not cigarettes, and it's still
Yeah.
like comparatively just go for it. And then because I have such a high energy, high productivity, like I do write scripts for all my videos. Sometimes I write scripts for 30-minute videos. Sometimes I write emails and short form, long form content. I talk to a lot of people. My life is pretty much 90% creative.
Mm.
And then I just assumed like that thing just keeps me sitting down and doing it. And sometimes I'm writing content. I'm high on caffeine already because I already drank it, and then I'm just put the lo-fi girl, like the
Oh, I love
lo-fi
that
thing,
one.
and I
Yeah.
vape, and I'm here. And sometimes during the weekends, mostly, but sometimes in the afternoons as well, I smoke weed because it's legal in Canada. It's such a normal thing nowadays here that I think people are using more weed than actually alcohol, which is great because
Yeah.
alcohol really fucks you up and weed does not as much. Actually, it does not for me. It's just great. Like most of my best YouTube videos have been written while I was high on weed, and my weed makes me like absorb and create and have more random connections with other areas of my thoughts. So,
Mm.
for example, when I'm writing a video, my best video. So if you probably watched the Impossible Dream of a Sim Racer. That's my story. That's when I got the 3 wins. I cried at everything, and like that video is amazing. It's like almost 1 million views right now. When I wrote that, I got high and I started watching other videos before I started writing my stuff to get inspired. So I started watching Alberto Nasca. I started watching Jimmy, like all the racing content creators, super high, just watching. And then everything that I was watching, I was just letting my brain like drift. And then suddenly I had an idea. So I wrote the intro. Then I kept watching. Oh, had an idea. So I wrote something else. And then that's how I started building it. And like all that, like when you're high, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like just a creative flush.
Yeah.
Things are happening. Like you're not, oh, I have to do this because I have a deadline. Like, no, I'm just high and I'm enjoying the process and I'm loving it. And then I did that a day after I was reading the script, like, fuck, this is good. And then I recorded it, we edited it, and now the video is kind of changing my life in a way. It's like a lot of people, thousands of people are knowing my stuff because of that video.
That's the crazy thing. It's like when you're a content creator, you're legitimately one video away from changing the entire course of your life. It's that one idea, that one thing that goes viral that changes everything. Like the butterfly effect, right? Like that's the video. I don't know why it got suggested to me, YouTube algorithm gods. And I'm like, this is, and I clicked on it and I'm like, it's so funny. I was eating, I think, I was having dinner and I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, what's this about? Let me just check it out real quick. And then the intro was super enticing. I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's watch 5 minutes. Okay, fuck it. I want to see what happens. Okay. And then I watched the whole fucking thing. And, you know, in terms of butterfly effect, that made me follow your stuff. That made me reach out to you. You replied, which, by the way, fucking epic. Now it makes more sense because you told me about, you know, how you actually engage with your audience personally and all that jazz. Because a lot of creators wouldn't reply, and then we've been messaging back and forth, kind of checking out the stuff, and now we're on the podcast. And you never know what happens after that, and maybe someone else watches you then, and they're like, "Oh, I am a sponsor for the thing." Like you never fucking know. It's one single piece of content, and like we say, sometimes nothing happens until everything happens. So it's such a great example. Now, when it comes to smoking weed, do you smoke sativa, indica? Do you have any preferences?
Oh, it's a pretty balanced. It's mixed and it's 1-to-1 CBD THC. So it's a very weak one. Like I don't get super high. Like
Yeah.
I can function properly. I can talk to people. I can go out. I can do whatever. Like I everything that I do is like low amounts, except for maybe caffeine. Caffeine I do drink a lot, but like even vaping, like this is a very very weak one. I don't get super tripped on it. And when I smoke weed, like I literally take 2 puffs and I how do you like say let it off?
Yeah. Yeah.
I put it off like after 2 puffs, and that's enough for me to be just ever so slightly high for like an hour and a half. That is what it takes because I'm still in control. And I'm
Yeah.
just getting those glimpses of ideas here and there. I'm not like too high that let me watch this random video that popped up on my algorithm and completely sidetrack. I don't do that because I have a very clear objective of what I'm doing it for. So yeah, I hack my body in the right ways, in the right amounts to achieve what I want.
It's so sick that you don't have a problem talking about that. I mean, yeah, it's legal where you live, but it's actually, there's research that shows that type A personalities are way more prone to enjoy smoking weed than other personalities. So type A personalities are people like you, or I for that matter. We're all about grind, get shit done, conquer, next thing. What are we gonna do? We're so much into this, like, constantly pushing, constantly doing things. And then when we do smoke weed, it gets us from depth into breadth. It's like, oh, okay. That's at least how it works for me. Like, I like smoking every now and then as well. Still very rarely. I smoke maybe once a month. But when I do that, it's like it winds down this constant noise that's just like go, 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 and gets me into like, okay, let's chill. What do we have? And that's where ideas come up. That's where you can all of a sudden relax. And then through that relaxation, you get into more broad thinking and thinking like, you know what, we should do this. You know what, why don't we create this type of program? And like I said, also there, like one small idea, one small decision can change the course of your entire life, of your entire business. And that's really, really interesting. Mate, you have to go. I have to go soon as well. How can people find you? How can people get in touch with you? They want to learn racing. They want to check out your content.
All you need to do is check out the Motor Racing Academy. That's the name of the brand. It has evolved. Actually, it's funny because the Motor Racing Academy was supposed to be just one of the products, but the name was so strong that we realized, whoa, that name just now consumes the whole brand. So the Motor Racing Academy is the name of the brand. We're slowly changing the websites, the links and everything for that. But on my YouTube, that's Suellio Almeida. You can find my YouTube if you go to my website. If you just type sim racing coach, you're definitely gonna find it. So It's not too difficult. My recommendation for everyone, like if you're getting into sim racing and you want to get good, I have a flagship course, which is like the one that I do not only recommend but request that everyone take before any other product, before taking coaching with me and everything, which is the Motor Racing Checklist. This is actually the course that I made that is a collection of all the good thought processes and all the concepts that I have created over these 2,500 coaching sessions that I've done with my students. And it's all there. So for me now, it's a waste of time to do a one-to-one coaching session with a new student if they have not taken the course, because the course will prepare them for us to have an extremely productive one-to-one session where we can digest and brainstorm the ideas that they already got from the Motor Racing Checklist. So the Motor Racing Checklist is the entry point, and yeah, I strongly recommend it. It's a car handling dynamics online course that is gonna make you understand everything. And then after you take that course, you can watch racing, you can watch Formula One, you can watch on boards, and you're gonna understand exactly what people are doing, because it's very in depth. And it took me pretty much years to collect all of that and to write and edit. And it's already on the second version. I'm potentially doing the third version. And if you own the first or the second version, you're always getting the updates for free. And yeah, it's really my biggest identity. My biggest success right now is the launch of that course because of the results. Like literally, one of my students is a Formula One engineer.
Wow.
Who is a 10-time Formula One engineer champion. He was 8 times champion for Mercedes, and now he's 2 times champion for Red Bull. He did the move on the right year. And I mean, the personal trainer for Daniel Ricciardo followed my stuff and took the course, and they were like, "Wow, that's." I was a little bit surprised with the results and effects of that course. So for me, it's actually the easiest thing to talk about it, because the results show it more than my own marketing. I don't actually have to struggle or to put too many efforts into marketing, because the course it's already so good that people are talking about it by word of mouth, and people are gifting it to others and to teammates and everything. So yeah, that's my recommendation. And also just watch my videos on YouTube. You're gonna find 2 types of videos there. You're gonna find the educational stuff. So if you want to get good at real life racing or sim racing, and you're gonna find the storytelling. You're gonna find the movies, essentially. Let's call them like that, which are the episodes about my real life racing career, which we do spend most of our efforts to make them look extremely exciting, and that's why you did watch it for 1 minute, and then 5, then 10, then 15,
Yeah.
because we take every second very seriously to make it look like a movie and to make you feel all the emotions that I did feel in when I was there.
That's literally how it felt when I watched it. And look, I'm not saying this as like a cringe endorsement or something. Like, I'm literally gonna buy the Motor Race Checklist right now. Also because I want to hold myself accountable. I'm on this podcast tour now for the next, how many, 4 weeks, pretty much, right? Literally the next 4 weeks. So I can't do sim racing because I didn't bring my wheel and my pedals. But I'm gonna check that out, and then as soon as I'm done with that, I would love to get some one-on-one sessions with you. Simply because for me, it's my outlet. It's business all the time. It's just like go, 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 go. And then sim racing is this other thing where I can feel a sense of progression, but at the same time, it's away from my main bread maker.
It's serious fun.
Exactly, it's serious fun. Basically, yeah, that's a good way to say it. But yeah, we're gonna put everything down in the description below. We're also gonna put your socials and all that jazz. And last words are yours. If you got anything more to say.
Shut up and drive. Just like shut up and drive is what I say a lot to my students when they're talking too much. I'm like, bro, stop overthinking. You have to feel it. I do the talking, you do the driving, and that has become a fun meme within the community. Shut up and drive. We actually have some gloves and shoes that I'm just launching. So sim racing gloves and sim racing shoes that are made specifically for sim racing. And they're like they're very well done in terms of durability and everything. And like the words that we put on the sides was shut up and drive. So it's always a reminder for you to go there and drive and feel it out and absorb the information. Stop trying to get information out, get information in instead.
Boom, mate. It's been super epic to have you on. Really, whenever we're in the same continent, in the same country, let's get together and let's do another podcast in person. Of course, if you're down only. And yeah, and we'll dude, maybe we can even join some of your races as a spectator and then film that from an outside perspective, and just, I want more people to get to know what you're doing because it's really fucking awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the trust. Thank you for inviting me. It's always so fun to talk about mostly outside content creation, right? Podcasts allow us to really go deep into our lifestyles and the whole life around the business. Because we mostly spend so many hours of the day only trying to do what's going to be seen on the content and everything. So it's always great to have this type of conversation to relax a little bit.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have Suellio on my podcast. I've been following him for so long, and I'm grateful to be in the position where I have a brand, where I'm making money, and I can use these finances to support my lifestyle and give more value back to you. And like I said, so many people reach out to me. They say, Max, how do I get started as an online coach? How do I build my brand as an online coach? How can I scale and make more money? Well, the answer is you talk to people who've done this before, literally thousands of times. So if you want to talk to me and my team of experts, there's a link down in the description below for you to book your free call with us. This is where we can look at your business idea. If you haven't gotten started yet, we can tell you how exactly you can get your first clients, where to post, what to say, and so on and so forth. And also, if you're already making some money, you're already advanced and you want to scale and automate so the business runs on autopilot, that's also where we can help you. It's the same link down in the description below. These calls are very sought after because they're very valuable and entirely for free. So if the link still works and it lets you through, it means we still have a spot open for you. So that being said, go book that call. Let's talk very soon and let's go crush. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. Appreciate the living hell out of you. GG.